Alright, hello YouTube. My name is Brandon. I go by AtlasTekh on the PSN, and today I just want to share an update to an old build that I have been running for years on the Necromancer. And a couple years ago I posted a video called LazyLancer that showcased this build. I felt like Season 21 added some new updates to items that really made this build even more effective. So I felt like a revisit was worth it. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll go over the skills and the equipment and then a short demonstration. So really quick, let's see. So we're looking at a Pestilence build. So of course it's going to be running Corpse Lance. I'm running Brittle Touch as my corpse, stacking crits to get good single target damage. We are running Devour with the Voracious rune. Which helps reduce costs of essence, which does a number of things for us, which I'll explain as we get further into the build. We're running Simulacrum with Blood and Bone, so that we get 2 Simulacrums out there. It does reduce the cost, or the time duration of Simulacrum to 10 seconds, but we are countering that with Haunted Vision's Amulet. For mobility, we're using Blood Rush with Metabolism. I find that I don't need the extra corpse that I would get from molting, but so my options really were Metabolism, or you could go with Potency for some more armor if you're having trouble staying alive. But the build is actually pretty tanky as far as necromancers go. We are bringing Command Skeletons and Freezing Grip. It synergizes on a number of levels. Freezing Grip will let our Crispins activate on command, and we're also using the Justice set weapon and shield, so we're getting a nice damage boost while using Command Skeletons. Skeletal Mages we're bringing with Gift of Death, so that they create corpses when they die, and this is a huge part of the build, the fact that our mages are creating corpses. Passive wise, we're running Dark Reaping to gain essence and life per kill, Final Service as just in case things go bad for us, you get saved by that. Overwhelming Essence to increase our maximum essence, because we are using Relena's Shadowhook in this build. And the last passive is really open and up to you. If you end up changing around some skills, maybe a different passive will work for you, but there's not really any passive that has a huge benefit for this. We're not needing a bunch of cooldowns. We're not running poison, so Fueled by Death gives me a little bit more mobility, and I found that I like that. In the cube, it has Relena's Shadowhook, so the more essence we have, the more damage we do. Corpse Whisper Pauldrons is a staple for any Corpse Lance build, and Crispin Sentence giving us 100% increased damage against any enemies that are slowed, and triple that against anyone that's affected by another type of control impairing effect, like the freeze that we get from Command Skeletons. For our inventory, as I said, we're using the Justice set, so that's our weapon and our shield. It's a Pestilence build, so we're using Pestilence gloves, shoulders, chest piece, helmet, as well as boots. For our amulet, as I talked, it's Haunted Visions, which is one of the things that was updated with Season 21. So now, instead of doubling the length of your Simulacrum, it lasts indefinitely. So you cast it, and you'll have it back up for the remainder of while you're playing, as long as you don't die. One of the things that it does say in the description is that it lasts forever. They can now duplicate Grim Scythe instead of Skeletal Mage. When I first read that, I thought that it meant that they wouldn't do Skeletal Mage, but they still do. It seems as long, maybe if you're not using Grim Scythe, then they'll continue to do that Skeletal Mage, so it's a huge bonus. Nemesis Bracers for helping us get through the rifts faster, getting more elites. As I said, we're using the Justice set, and we're doing that because this has also been updated in Season 21. So now, when your skeletons are commanded to attack a target, you deal 400% increased damage across the board. It's not just your minions, it's anything that you're using. So that's buffing our Corpse Lance significantly. we have Circle of Knowledge Evol, which is giving us 2 skeletal mages every time we cast one. Since we are using the Blood and Bone simulacrum and have 2 simulacrums out, then every time we cast skeleton, they both cast skeleton. So for every cast of skeletal mage, you're getting 6 mages. When you cast, that means in 2 casts, you'll have cast 12, but the game will not let you have more than 10 skeletal mages out at a time. So after that point, every time you cast, you're just creating corpses. So every cast gives you 6 new corpses. Ring of Royal Grandeur lets us use the Pestilence set with only 5 pieces. And the reason we want to do that is because we are running Captain Crimson's pants and belt. Now, normally you would run this for the cooldown reduction, because necromancers are typically very dependent on cooldown reduction. We are running it because of the damage taken reduction based on your cost reduction. And also we are benefiting from the cooldown reduction, the damage increase from any cooldown reduction. So what's a really great synergy in here is, I said that we were using the Voracious Devour rune, which gives us an essence cost reduction of 2% for every corpse consumed in the last 5 seconds. So what that ends up meaning is we get a very, very significant damage reduction when the build is in place. So cast our 2 simulacrums, now we have those out, we start casting our mages and holding that. So I'm just holding down the mages and I'm holding down Devour. I'm consuming those corpses as fast as they are being generated. And if we go back in here and look at my stats, and we go down to cost reduction, we are sitting at a 71% cost reduction, meaning that Captain Crimson is giving us 71% damage reduction, which is part of what makes this build so much tankier than your average necromancer build. For our gems, I am using Stone of Vengeance, which is really a staple for Corpse Lance. The more damage done, the further out the target is. We are also using Bane of the Trapped, another staple, because we are constantly freezing or other impairments are going on, so we're getting that bonus damage. And finishing it off, I'm using Gogok of Swiftness. The reason for Gogok of Swiftness is it gives me some more attack speed, which is helping me get to that 1.71 attack speed breaking point for my Corpse Lances. On top of that, it does add some cooldown, which because of Captain Crimson goes right back into increased damage. So this one is not ironclad. If you are making your attack speed breaking points and you want to go with a different gem, I think that that's totally viable. In fact, I feel like there's probably a lot of ways that this build could be optimized, and that's one of the reasons why I want to share the build, is so that other people can find some of those optimizations for me, for the community. As you can see, my gear is pretty much subpar or just average. I don't have any primals. Nothing has been augmented. I have done up to Greater Rift 102 with this. At the time that I did that, I was in the 30s and 40s on my gems. They're still only down in the 40s and 50s. And my Paragon wasn't maxed out at that point, though I am now. But it's not necessary for the build. It's pretty effective even at low amounts of Paragon and just adequate gear. It's really quick just to kind of show you it in motion. We'll pop down into the Halls of Agony really quick, and so we're just, all I'm doing is holding down R1 and R2 so that I'm constantly casting mages and Devour. And even just doing that, I'm killing things in Torment 16 just fine. If I wanted to increase the damage that I do, I can do that with just tapping circle to start commanding the skeletons and get that 400 damage increase. I'm still not even actually casting any Corpse Lances. I'm just letting things work on their own. So I've got pretty good mobility with the teleport and fueled by death, giving me increased speed. Anytime you come across something that's a little bit tankier, you make sure to tap circle to get your skeletons on it, and then you can hold down X and start consuming corpses directly with Corpse Lance, and significantly increase the damages. But as you can see, it's really easy, really simple. Alright, so I made that first part of the video, realized that I forgot to talk about the followers, so really quick. Followers not super important. I imagine that there's probably a best, but I haven't figured out or really thought too hard about which one would be the best. I do like the Enchantress, some of the skills that she has to passively, help things along. Weapon, just something big and buff. Pretty much just get her, so she can't die is great. And then an Oculus ring is helpful, so that she's putting those rings on the ground, you can stand in those and get the damage buff. Mine's not stellar; it's only 75%, but still is helpful. So just to kind of showcase the build in action, we'll jump into a 95. So bring out our simulacrums and start it up. And really, it doesn't take off until you get that first Nephilim glory. So we're just tapping circle to make sure that we're getting the damage boost from the command skeletons, and we've got our Nephilim glory. So now we'll just kind of lay into these guys a little bit. So I would definitely recommend, repositioning, staying safe. Make sure to use your, stand behind your mages if you can. We are using Zai's Stone of Vengeance, so having distance equates to a damage increase, so you can keep moving back away from things. But sometimes it's worth jumping up into the circle and getting that. So if you come across a group that's giving you difficulty, another trick is just, instead of holding down X to cast a bunch of Corpse Lances, you can just hold down Command Skeletons, so circle for me, and just constantly spam like I'm doing. So right now I'm not using Corpse Lance manually at all, it's just the Pestilence rune, or Pestilence set that's casting it, and I'm just holding down and spamming Command Skeleton. So it's freezing everybody, and if they're frozen, they're not doing damage to me. So in a tough area, that can definitely come in handy. And yeah, I'm just kind of walking through a 95, holding down a couple buttons. Mortars are kind of rough. And, every necromancer build always struggles a little bit with juggernauts, but we do okay with this build. So it's definitely not like I'm screaming through this rift, but I'm doing alright, not too bad. The one complaint that I would have about this build is it's a little bit loud with all the casting of the different things that I'm doing, so I actually have the sound turned down significantly just because it's so loud. So variants for this build, like if you wanted to try and get some more speed out of it, you definitely could drop the Crimson set, put your Pestilence pants back on, and that would free up a spot for you to use the Steward's Graves, so that you'd have a lot faster mobility after teleporting. I find that I move around, I'm happy with the speed that I'm moving around usually, so I haven't had to use that typically, and you do sacrifice a lot of tankiness. But if you're running T16 bounties and you're not doing a great rift, then maybe that would be worth it. to get a little bit more speed out of it. So I think I'll just be quiet for a little while, let you watch the build. Pretty much, I think I've told you everything that tips and tricks wise, so if you want to bounce, you're more than welcome to. But I'm going to just finish off this rift really quick and call it good. Got a little cocky there.
That is not possible. I need a corpse. I can't do that. This world can abide you no longer.
Definitely, if you're lucky enough to have the gear that you're hitting the attack breaking point on your corpse lances, then maybe switching out the Gogok of swiftness for a more useful gem wouldn't be a bad choice. Molten Will the Beast for some more life and heal, or Bane of the Powerful or Bane of the Stricken to get you some more damage output.
The Rift God.
And there's a 95 Rift Garden. Oh, you can keep recasting. That's another thing that is actually pretty useful. Is you can cast your command skeletons on the same target multiple times. So when they unfreeze, just cast it again, and they'll refreeze. So you can keep that. Damage increase almost indefinitely. So there you go. That's the build. I'm really happy with it. I think that it's fun to play, and I'd love to hear anybody's suggestions on ways to improve it. I've played around with changing Blood Rush for a curse or for bone armor with mixed success on that. So I think that there's still a lot of room for improvement or optimization for the build. But I think that it's a really good platform to start with. So hopefully it helps somebody out.